I knew something like this might happen, so I brought a rollout mattress,
Cot.
sleeping pad, camping pad with me, and my pillow.
Yeah.
So I said, I do have my bed and my pillow. I can sleep on the floor behind the counter, and I did.
Welcome to the podcast with Kilee Nichols. I'm Kilee, founder and CEO of the life-changing accessories brand Nickel and Suede and the successful style blog One Little Mama. I made the unlikely transition from stay-at-home mom to founder and entrepreneur. It takes a lot of courage to make a change like that, but I love the growth and the confidence that's come from stepping out of my comfort zone. This is the podcast for people who want to be inspired to be brave, to take a chance, and to change their life. I'll be sharing stories and actionable takeaways about working with your spouse, being a working mom, starting and growing a business, confidence, motivation, and more. So get ready to get inspired and get started with Kilee Nichols.
Hi, welcome to the podcast. I'm Kilee and you are with Kilee Nichols. And today I have Soren back with me today. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast, Soren.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back. Enjoyed having you so much last time that I had to have you back for some more color and some more stories.
Great.
And you requested, like last time, to not know the topic that we are going to be discussing again. So,
Hit me.
all right.
I'm ready.
Last time we talked about not quitting, and it just feels like such a theme in our life right now of doing hard things. We love to do hard things and persist through them. So one of the hard things that we've been doing since last June we went to Dallas and I said, let's open a store here. Basically, that's kind of how it went.
Yeah.
And so we've been working on opening a store in Dallas since then. And retail has been an unexpectedly important part of Nickel and Suede's story. Wouldn't you say?
For sure.
Continue. Why do I always ask you? I always ask you yes or no questions and no one else. Like that's an unwritten podcast rule. Don't ask yes or no questions. And then you take the bait and then you're just like, yes. Okay. Try again.
Fair. Yeah, when we were on a podcast once, on someone else's podcast, and they asked, what are some of like the big game-changing moments for you?
Yeah.
Big, items. And what he was expecting is that I was going to say making the Inc. 500 list, being in the magazine of fastest growing companies in the country. And I did not mention that one because the one that outshone my feelings as we looked back at our progress was that when we moved out of our basement and realized that we had to become an organization, meaning we have a store now to operate and somebody has to be there all the time. And we have a workplace that we have to go to where employees come and rely on us to have work to do. And we have to continue to exist for us and for them. That was, to me, a much bigger game changer.
Yeah.
And it's definitely proven to be that way, to keep the store running and to now find just how much of an impact retail has on our business and customers being able to find us and get to know us and our products and our values. Retail is huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So in 2016, we opened our first brick and mortar store in a basement. We love basements. We started in basements all the time. So we opened our first store in a basement. It was a very quick project. Thinking of it, we thought of it was going to be just like a pickup window. Ended up being a great, homey, cozy little first store. And it sold so many pairs of earrings. It was a phenomenal success. And with no signage, no
real parking, street front, none of that.
Yeah, it was such a difficult thing to find, but it became something people sought out. It was a destination. People loved it. And it did so well financially that it was like, okay, there's something here. People are loving this shopping experience. So I think that's where we decided, okay, I think we need to continue with retail. Let's make this more of a part of our story. So we did.
Yeah, can I say that it was a destination for people to come from out of state to come and see the store?
Yeah.
And that the, financial benefit to our business came really in the form of once you had a store, it kind of became a driver of traffic, both to the store but also online. So we saw a coinciding of our sales grow after opening the store because there was something to go talk about. And once there was something to talk about, it spread a lot quicker.
Yeah.
So being physically present really helped the talking.
Yeah. So that was kind of our start into having a retail, like, brick and mortar store. We were thinking really we would just be an online business, and you are my first minds because I was a blogger. I was online. Online's where everybody's at. That seems like the place where there's the most opportunity for growth. But we found this like symbiotic relationship with brick and mortar store and online. And that worked so well in Kansas City. But we knew, okay, this isn't really a scalable little store that I had thrown together that was so cute and cozy. So we've talked in the podcast before, I think, about that's when we decided let's find a way to have a scalable store. So we had started working with our architects to create the store that we have here at our headquarters.
Oh, you're skipping something really good.
Okay, fine. Go ahead.
We were not planning on having a store as part of our headquarters until we started looking at what kind of sign we're going to put on the big building. And now we've got this huge warehouse. I was doing it before you were involved.
I don't remember this. I'm pretty sure I always said we should do this.
Maybe. I didn't really see it until I realized that if we put a sign on the building, people are going to show up expecting to shop. And we could justify that away and say, well, no, you're coming to the headquarters. Like, we accidentally walked into the headquarters of Kate Spade in New York or something, or well, what was it?
It was a handbag company.
It was a handbag company. I don't remember which one.
And I do remember also trying to find a shoe company that was on a map. And then we walked in and they were like, no, this is the headquarters. You have to go up 5 stories.
Right.
And we're like, what? No, we just want to buy shoes.
Right.
So yeah, it's a real thing.
So then we thought, well, maybe we should plan for a little place to have a pickup window, kind of like we did before. And we learned from that and said, okay, fine, we'll make enough space for there to be a real store, and then it'll be kind of like our test kitchen.
Yeah.
And then that's how we ended up buying a 4th bay in our current building to allow room for a store.
Yeah. So we needed that 4th bay. But then what do we put in it? What does it look like? What does that next phase of the retail Nickel and Suede experience look like? And so that's when we were able to really start dreaming and get excited about what does the future of Nickel and Suede retail look like. So our architects that we worked with on our HQ, which turned out amazing and beautiful, Huft is our firm here in Kansas City that is amazing. Our HQ is incredible, and they helped us put together a design for our retail store. Came together amazing. And as we were working on the store for here at HQ, we said we should open a store in Dallas at the same time. I guess that's how it came together.
So is the podcast topic then why we decided to go to Dallas?
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of really weaving and winding. This is what happens when you and I get on a podcast together, is I think I don't need to plan for this, and then you start talking about all kinds of things. So what I really wanted to talk about was how hard it's been to open a store in Dallas, actually.
Yeah.
The topic was we opened a store on the square here in Liberty, and that happened in 6 weeks. It was like hard, but we totally did it because you and I just like bootstrapped it, and we did it together, and it was like, boom, done, amazing. Everybody came, sold a bajillion earrings, woohoo! And then this one here at HQ, also really hard to get open, but it was here at HQ. There were a lot of hurdles, took a long time, a lot longer to get it open than we thought, but like we were still able to bootstrap it because it was here in person. Then we had this thought of, well, I think we need to expand retail, and we had this crazy idea of expanding it outside of Kansas City. Why did we think we could do that? Well, it's a really good idea if there's this symbiotic relationship between online and brick and mortar. If we want to grow, we've got to go have another brick and mortar somewhere. So that's kind of the history to why we said, yes, let's put one somewhere else. But we knew we were biting off a lot to try to like step outside of our own state and go to Dallas. So
we had no idea how much more we were biting off.
Precisely. So that's really what I was thinking about talking about today, was that you just got back from Dallas last weekend, and came back with some crazy stories of how much you had to just go bootstrap all of this, despite how beautiful the store is, how much, like, it looks incredible. And it's our technically 3rd store. We've signed a lease for a 4th store, and our HQ looks awesome. Like, we're really in almost our 6th year of business, but you were literally down there this weekend painting the bathroom yourself, and
a whole lot of
other things. And so I thought, you know what? I think maybe there's some interesting stories to tell about how you think, you know, you're pretty far along in a process, in growth, in working on things, but you know, you bite off something, it's really hard to do. And sometimes you don't even know how big of a thing you bit off. Kind of like that mountain analogy from the last podcast you were on, where I say, I want that mountain. And I'm like, it looks pretty close. And you're like, yeah, it's really far away, actually. It's going to be really hard. And to do it, I have to send you to Dallas twice in 1 month. You go down there, you have a million sleepless nights to get it all done. But that's just sometimes what it takes in these phases. So
while I was there, I was interviewing candidates, and the thought that kept coming to me was Ben Chestnut.
Candidates for what?
Candidates for the manager.
Because we still haven't hired.
We still haven't found the right one.
A team for that store.
Right. So a couple of things that I kept thinking of while I was down there is that Ben Chestnut's famous for saying that you have to do things in the beginning that don't scale in order to scale, which is exactly what was happening. I was down there doing all sorts of little detail stuff and wrap up, which is definitely not scalable. But at the same time, it was me, the best person to be there, to learn, to be on the ground, to see what's needed, to see what happens.
Yeah.
So I'm doing the not scalable thing so that we can scale. But while you're doing that not scalable thing, it feels ridiculous. It feels like this is never going to work.
Yeah.
And I said to multiple people, look around. It looks like we know what we're doing. We totally don't know what we're doing, but it looks like we do.
Yeah.
So, you know, people can come in and say, wow, Nickel and Suede is amazing. They've figured it all out. What they don't know is that it was totally thrown together, figured out, a lot of things last minute, and that I was doing a lot of it myself instead of having, you know, a pattern and a kit and ship it. Here you go, set it up, done, which it feels like a lot of other brands have. Other companies have their act together where they don't have to have the owner of the company go down to figure out how to get, you know, paint splatters off of the displays, or like there's got to be someone else surely that would care about the business enough to go to that level of detail. And in our case, there just isn't.
Yeah.
Or we haven't set that up. So it's me down there.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, those were definitely thoughts in my mind while I was down there that, okay, this is hopefully in that realm of have to do the things that don't scale so that you can scale because of the learnings that come from it.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's
like if anyone wants to know my checklist of what you have to do to open a store, it's a big checklist now, a lot bigger than it was at the beginning. So I know what it takes.
Yeah, which is super important and I think valuable. But in other times I'm like, can't somebody else do that? Like, why are you the one doing that? It would be way smarter
to have somebody else do that.
And then sometimes I think there's this balance of like, why are you the one doing that? But then that's where like the great stories come from of like, well, I was the one that was doing that and that's why we know what we know and that's why we are where we are. So
right.
Like you called me Sunday night at 9:00, or I called you and I had put kids to bed because I stayed home to do the kids and run the business while you were down there. And you're like, I think I'm going to get started painting the bathroom because I had asked you to paint the bathroom pink. Well, I wanted the bathroom painted pink. I didn't care who did it. Let's make that clear. But you were concerned, I guess, that it wouldn't get done or it wouldn't get done when we wanted it to or whatever. So you're like, I think I'm going to start painting the bathroom. It's 9:15 at night. I'm like, you know that's going to take 2 coats. You know that like all the things. And then I got a text from you Monday morning at I think 6:30 in the morning saying, so I just read this news article and by the way, I'm going to bed now.
I had just finished eating breakfast at the hotel. I got home after breakfast had started. So, I was glad for that.
Yeah.
Because I had missed dinner. So I had my oatmeal and what was it? Waffles? Oatmeal and...
So you spent the entire night painting the bathroom pink?
No, there were a bunch of other things after that. I was done with the first coat pretty soon after, and then I installed a couple more speakers. Yeah, there were quite a few things I did. All things that could have stayed on the list for next time, but I said, while I'm here, I may as well do it now. and make sure that our contractor has some other things to work on. So, for example, the lights and the HVAC system still have some kinks and buzzes in them that needed to get fixed. So I was basically doing the stuff on his list to make sure that he actually got the ones done that I needed him to. Because once a contractor gets to a point where he feels like he's done with the job and he's got this cleanup list of items, they need to get off, because they're just losing money as it goes on. And so they don't want to do all the things.
Yeah.
They have stopped caring. And even though they're doing great and they're really doing the best they can to be helpful, I just know that if I have their painter come back in, he's not going to leave it spotless. He's going to come in, kind of make a mess, do his job, and then leave. And then I have to come back in and clean up anyway. So
Yeah, nobody brings an X-Acto knife around like you do. And I think I've banned you from carrying X-Acto knives around and scraping paint off of the floor.
It's true.
I've said that's not allowed anymore, Soren.
Take that away from him.
Stop the X-Acto knife. Yeah. So then Monday, you were supposed to come home, and then I called you at like 6 p.m. and I was like, I need you to stay another day. We have 2 more candidates. I need you to interview.
Glad to.
And what did you say? You had already checked out of your hotel.
Oh, you're going to tell them this?
Yeah.
Oh, dang it.
Derek said we had to.
Oh, man.
It's so great. It shows a good leader.
I knew something like this might happen, so I brought a rollout mattress.
Cot.
Sleeping pad, camping pad with
Yeah.
me, and my pillow.
Yeah.
So I said, I do have my bed and my pillow. I can sleep on the floor behind the counter, and I did.
Yeah, you slept in the store on the floor. You didn't even check back into a hotel.
Who else did you tell about? Wait, too late now. I just told everybody. I didn't tell anyone.
I know. So
Our employees don't know.
It's so dedicated. So
I could have gone and gotten another hotel, but I would have probably slept in because I had not been getting a lot of sleep. So
yeah, you'd pulled all-nighters almost every night you were there.
the next morning, the HVAC and lighting contractors were supposed to be there at 8 o'clock. So I didn't want to miss them and let them come in and do a bad job and not really solve the problem. So I wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. So I slept right in front of the light switch.
I know. So what he's also not telling you is that he's like, it's really hard to sleep without a blanket. It's like, it's really hard to sleep without a blanket. So it's like, I just had to pull a t-shirt down. I'm like, oh my word. But that's the thing that like, nobody was surprised that I think we knew. Yeah. I told everybody that night, I was like, Soren has his cot. He's just going to sleep at the store. And they were like, that doesn't surprise me at all. Like, that's the level of dedication Soren has. Like, they knew that you pulled all-nighters every single night while you were there. They knew that you were like scraping paint off the floor. They knew that you were like, you potted cactuses by yourself.
Oh my gosh.
Like, you can't pull a cactus out of the dirt with your hands.
You can't.
So that was one of his all-night adventures, was potting cactuses by himself because he didn't want to wait for somebody to do it with him. I don't know. So anyways, I just think like these are some of the like crazy bootstrapping things that you were doing down there in Dallas alone. I mean, you had one of our employees, JC, went down there with you and was helping you during the day, and she worked long, full days with you, but there was still so much work to do. You literally pulled all-nighters the entire rest of the trip, both times you've gone down there.
I did think about our previous podcast, where you said I have a lot of endurance to go through things.
Yeah.
Because JC had worked so hard on Friday and Saturday. At the end of Saturday, we were walking through Target buying decorations, and I was like, here, let me push that cart for you.
Was she like sleeping?
She couldn't even push the cart anymore.
Oh, she was so
She was
tired.
so tired. So I told her to make sure that she gets her flight the next morning, but that not to come back to the store, so
Yeah.
she could just rest
She
on
was probably
Sunday
so
and then fly
tired.
home. She was so wiped. But then I stayed up and worked and did all those other things, and I thought, how do I have the stamina to do this? This is crazy.
Yeah, that's just one of your gifts. But
And the other thing was that subjecting anyone else to the craziness that I was doing
yeah,
would never have worked. And it would have, I think, just gotten in the way, because they would have said, oh, no, that's not a good idea. Let's not do this.
yeah.
Especially when it came to the cactus.
Yeah.
So,
That's why you pull the all-nighters, because then nobody's around to tell you no.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So I think that just speaks to I think the level of like dedication / craziness you have to pull off some of these things that when you bite off more than you can chew, or when you say, this is a good idea, I want to go after this goal, then it's just like, all right, we're all in. It's going to take like massive amounts of work or no sleep or whatever. And you just have to like push through it.
Okay.
And,
now, I got to give you some credit though.
well, I'm not going to pull these all-nighters. So
no, but you're the one who said you wanted the pink bathroom. And that's an example of
pointing in the right direction.
Pointing in the right direction. You said, I want you to stay another day to interview these candidates.
Yeah.
Okay. So then pointing in the right direction is kind of what gives the fuel to keep going for some of these things. So you're pointing in the right direction of, no, we're not hiring a manager unless they this, and this.
Yeah.
That's the fuel for continuing to interview more and more candidates until we get there. So,
yeah, so I think that's the teamwork that you and I work off of, which is the good probably behind the scenes for people. And we want to share behind the scenes of how we work together and how our business runs. And that's different for every business and different for every couple. But I don't have the stamina, but I do have the ideas. And the pink bathroom looks amazing. If anybody has seen the HQ bathroom we have here, people always take selfies in it. And so I've decided from henceforth and forever, all Nickel and Suede bathrooms are now the Pepto-Bismol Nickel and Suede pink, because it's just the perfect pink. And so we painted the Dallas bathroom that color as well. And it looks great, but I could not have stayed up all night painting it. So that's what you were down there doing it. But you needed it done your way, so you did it. But I do think we've now learned, and now we can say, okay, how are we going to scale that going forward? But it has just been so much harder in different ways, I think, than we thought.
Oh yeah. I mean, we would have felt like, okay, we're putting together a budget. We're meeting with our architects. We're drawing out the floor plans.
Here's the schedule.
And we want to ignore the bathroom. Just make the bathroom basic. Make the back office basic. And then let's focus, in the front. Now we know that doesn't work.
Yeah.
You have to plan out in close detail the back office and where you're going to store everything. You also have to plan out, I want to make this bathroom nice. We don't have a sink in the bathroom. Or sorry, we have a sink but no counter.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to do anything but wash your hands. And that doesn't feel like you're going to want it to feel. So we know now going forward, we got to give a little more attention to some of those areas.
Yeah. So, what do you think? Any other takeaways for how hard it's been? Do you think that the rewards have been worth it yet? Are we still in the middle of it?
I definitely had the feeling while I was down there that we could be on the edge of something really explosive. We could be on the edge of a whole new stage of growth for the business. And part of why it's really hard to hire down there is because we don't have as much of a national brand or audience as we think we do sometimes. Here in Kansas City, it's easy to think when candidates from all over town know us and want to work for us, and they know that we're a fashion brand in Kansas City, which is hard to find, and that we've got this place for them to come work and a great team. But people in Dallas don't know that.
We're tiny there.
We are tiny, and it's really easy to see that, which made it easy to feel like we're on the edge of something really big, or we could be if we do it right. So it's important to do it right. And a great starting point is our location. We do have a great location, and our product's great. And when you walk in, it's definitely to a level that will amaze. So we've gotten those foundational pieces in place.
Well, and it was really good to hear you come back and say how proud of it you were, because that means a lot for coming from you, for your high standards and for what you've done. And I think it kind of goes back to the last podcast you were on, which was like when things are really hard, and you kind of either feel like quitting, it's like you're almost to a breakthrough point. So it's like when things are the hardest, that's when you either feel like quitting or you've almost broken through to something really awesome. So I think, was it last week? I even posted on Instagram and I was just like, I felt like quitting 3 times this week. And I think I told you, like, just tell the Dallas, we're not coming. Just tell the West
Tell them we're
Village.
not coming.
Just we'll keep paying rent, but we're not opening. Just tell them that we're like, I get a little dramatic sometimes. Says I'm the optimistic one and I'm also the pessimistic one. Like, just tell them like we quit. Like I can't even handle it. Like hiring's too hard. Like all this is too hard. I just can't. But like, then you're also saying like, I think this is so good that we're almost on the edge of liftoff. Like we're almost there. So it's really awesome to hear you were down there working on the rocket ship. It's ready to lift off. We're nearly there. I feel like spring's coming, sun's coming. Like we're ready for this big, awesome thing to take off. So it's good news.
Mhm.
So I'd say takeaway is if you've bitten off more than you can chew, if you feel like you've taken on these hard things, like sometimes that happens, I feel like, but that's the exciting thing. And maybe you have bitten off more than you can chew when you take on a goal, or maybe, you want to go to a destination and it's a lot farther away than you thought it was going to be. But I think that's the fun in the ride. And like you learn a lot along the way, and we're finding, hey, Nickel and Suede is maybe a little bit smaller than we thought we were, but there's no reason we can't be as big as we think we want to be. So just because we have a lot of room to grow, like that's where the fun and the exciting part of the journey is. So we just have to not quit and just keep going and keep growing. So yeah. Agreed?
Agreed. We are the ones who feel like we're small and not as big as we want to be. Walking into our store, you wouldn't know that.
Yeah, we're amazing and we're huge and we're going to be behemoth. So
There we go.
Awesome.
Point the way.
Yep, I'm pointing and you're building, and we're going to be an awesome team. We already are. So high five. Awesome. Thanks for joining me today, Soren. I love your color. Sorry I embarrassed you with your cot story, but I think that's one of your better stories. I think people need to know you carry a cot and a pillow all the time in your truck for any circumstance because you're always willing to just pull an all-nighter to get the work done. So that's Soren for you. So, all right. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave a review. That always helps us. Feel free to share the podcast, and we will see you next week. Thanks for listening today to With Kilee Nichols. Stay tuned next week for another episode. And if you can't wait until then, you can find me at onelittlemama.com, MOMMA, for beauty, our family, style tips, and more. And you can find my business at nickelandsuede.com with the and spelled out. Thanks again. We'll see you next time.